Yeah. All right. So welcome to this webinar all about prompt engineering. So we're going to talk about how can you get more out of tools like ChatGPT. I know we use ChatGPT in the title here, but you could use any text generation tool of your choice. Doesn't really matter. But ChatGPT, everybody knows. So I'm part of Xebia Data, the organization that is offering these webinars. We are a company that mostly does consulting in the data and AI space. So we help companies get more from their data, help them with their AI solutions. But we also have an academy that teaches lots of different courses. And I'm part of the academy because I am a data science educator. My name is Lisanne. And I've been with Xebia Data as a data science educator for over 3 years now. And I teach lots of data science related courses. And I especially like the ones where people come from a little bit of a less technical background to show them that, yes, you can do this too. You can also work with data. And yeah, I also teach a course all about Introduction to Gen AI, which is where the material that we'll cover today comes from. So I just want to dive right in. So you've maybe, or probably worked with tools like ChatGPT before. Maybe you generated something, maybe you use it all the time. But today, what I want to talk about is how can we make these prompts, these inputs that we give to ChatGPT better, because that means that our output will also be better. So I have 2 examples of prompts that could do with some improvements. I want to show them to you. Something like this prompt here. Give me feedback on my resume and improve it. We upload our resume as well. That will work. But can you share in the chat maybe some improvements? What is kind of wrong with this prompt? What are your thoughts? Is this prompt not too great yet? Too common, says Eric. Luke has an improvement already. I'm interviewing for position X at company Y. Here's their website and their listing. Optimize my resume for this role. Yeah, so Luke's really added some context there to know more about what is being asked for the role. Too ambiguous, says Jeremy. Yeah, tying in with Atta, the words improvement could mean a few different things. We should probably tell what to improve. Really good point as well. Yeah, what exactly do you want to improve? The tone or the content? I would like to apply in a certain industry. Yeah, also relevant context to know, because if you're applying to be, I don't know, a childminder, that's something completely different than a data scientist. Yeah, so you all agree it's kind of too vague, too generic. Yeah, okay, really good. Then one other example prompt that could do with some improvements. Create a PowerPoint presentation about artificial intelligence. Why is this one not that great yet? Unspecified audience, says Tope. Yeah, that's a really good one, because are we going to present for machine learning engineers or for children or for laymen? Yeah. What about AI should the presentation be about? Really good point too, because that's a really large field. We can't cover everything. Too vague, unspecified role if presenter. Yeah, what's the role of the presenter? Yeah. Yeah, really good. So we're already touching upon some things that could make your prompts better. And that's what we're going to look at in the next section of this webinar. What tips can you keep in mind when you are creating a prompt yourself? And throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on them. Some questions I may answer directly, some I'll leave until the end of the session, because there's also time for Q&A. Right. So let's have a look at those prompt engineering tips, because there are a couple of golden rules to generative AI. It's asking the right questions, but also asking the questions right. We need to know what we want to ask, but we can also phrase them in a way that helps get better output. So how do we apply them? We have to constantly rethink, rephrase, and repeat. So it's really an engineering process. Because when we're talking about prompt engineering, the prompt is the input that you give to tools like ChatGPT. And based on that, an output will be created. And we can design a prompt. So thinking about, okay, what should we write? How should we write it? But if you've already done a little bit of experimenting with this, you probably have noticed that you rarely get the exact, ideal output on the first try. So that's why we do a lot of prompt engineering. So iterating over your prompts, trying multiple versions to get exactly that output that you're looking for. So we're going to learn some prompt engineering best practices today. Nice. Hey, so grab your tool of choice, because we're going to try it out as we go. That could be ChatGPT, that could be Copilot, that could be Gemini, DeepSeek, Claude, whichever one you prefer. All of these tips work in any tool. Hamad asks, what are the differences between premium versions and lockout-free guest versions for ChatGPT? So there is a free version that you can use without any accounts. Then for a couple of questions, you can use the kind of newest model. After trying a couple of times, it will go back to an older model, but it will still work. And for like 20 euros per month, you can get the Pro version, and then you always have access to the newest, best model. But for ChatGPT, the older model also does perfectly well. Okay, so I'm going to use ChatGPT just because most people use that one probably, but feel free to use any tool that you like and have access to. So I've divided my tips into 3 sort of sections. We're going to talk about setting the stage, so giving the model the best starting point. Then we're going to talk about designing the output so it looks exactly the way you want it to. And a couple of tips about sort of taking the model by the hand, because it takes 2 to tango. Both for the model and for you. You need to help a little bit. So the first 4 tips are about setting the stage. We're going to see how you can clearly define the task, providing background information, defining the target audience, and also separating instructions and context. So some of these we've already noticed when I was showing you the bad prompts. So we have to start by asking the right questions, clearly defining the task. What do we actually want the model to do? Because there's a lot of things you could do with a model like ChatGPT. Maybe I want to write an email to my boss to get me a salary increase. I would love a salary increase. But some context is missing. Maybe we need to give it a little bit more, because otherwise the answers will be very generic. So we're going to see how we can add some context later. But writing an email is just one example. We could also summarize information, analyze information, create a PowerPoint, reformat, explain it like I'm 5, plan my vacation. So it feels like a bit of an open door. I don't know if that's also a saying in English, but think of what you wanted to do first. And that might be asking a certain question with a simple answer, like what's an NDA? But there's a downside to asking a simple question like this to a tool like ChatGPT. Maybe you've already heard of this, but it could be that it generates something that isn't true. Or maybe there are several types of NDAs. Maybe I'm looking for non-disclosure agreements, but maybe it's also a term in football or something. And then, yeah, I can really check if that's correct or not. So for simple questions, maybe better to still use your good old Google and check the sources, see if it's actually correct. But maybe fun to try out something. I'll put this prompt in the chat as well. Whoop. So let's see. If we try out the prompt that I just put in the chat, summarize the 5 most important points of the EU AI Act for companies. Try that out and yeah, have a little look at the results. And once you've gone through it, maybe try the same prompt again. And does it give you the same output? Let's take a minute. I'm gonna try it out myself as well. Can you still see my screen with ChatGPT on it? Yep.
Yep.
See? Summarize the 5 most important points. All right, so it's generating things. Interesting. Okay. And maybe if you're looking at the same... Yeah, my result is completely different, says Luke. That's interesting, right? When I do this with a group as well, people are sometimes really surprised, because even if I try the exact same prompt, it's going to be slightly different. Ooh. Yeah. So why is this? Luke gets nice, some pictures even. Yeah, so why is it different each time? Because a large language model like ChatGPT there's a sort of randomness built into it as well. So it's really good at generating new words, creating a sort of an overview in this case, but it won't always pick the most probable next words. There's a little bit of randomness in there, so we can generate new things, and it doesn't generate the same thing each time. So even if I use the exact same prompt, I might get something slightly different. And it can be nice. It can also be a bit annoying if you want to reproduce something. But that's good to realize. Okay, that's already an interesting thing. So we have to clearly define the task. We have to know what we want to do. But we also have to be specific. Because if we ask very open questions, like, tell me about AI, I also get a very open output. And yeah, maybe this is too generic. Maybe I'm actually more interested in the applications of AI in healthcare. Okay, zooming into something that's a bit more relevant for what I want. So by clearly defining the task, you're getting things more clear for yourself, but also for the output. Hey. So, weird PowerPoint thing. Second thing that you also already noticed during the kind of chat discussion was providing some background information, providing a bit of context. What does our model need to know to give a relevant answer? Like writing an email to my boss, give me a salary increase versus, write an email to my boss to get me a salary increase. Here's some extra context. I work for a legal department of I Love Cats Incorporated, because I do love cats. My cat is currently outside trying to get into this room. But my boss is not easily convinced, so I have to provide good arguments like, oh, I've got a salary increase in so long and I deliver such good results. And also I have offers from other companies, putting a bit of blackmail in there. So that will help the model create more relevant output for me. So maybe it's fun to also try that out. So I have a standard prompt, explain the concept of large language models. I'll put it in the chat again. Try out that one. And then also add some context afterwards. add that you're a parent trying to explain these large language models to your 8-year-old child and see how the results differ. Let's try that out. So if I just do explain the concept of large language models, and please try along with me. So we get some cool emojis as well. And for me, it knows that I'm a trainer. So I think that's why it's also already adding these emojis to it. I don't know if you get them as well. But what if I say explain the concept of large language model? I'm trying to explain them to my 8-year-old child. Imagine a super smart robot brain for words. Oh, look how it works. Let's say you type once upon a, the robot might say, time there was a dragon. Hey. Yeah, and then it makes it way more relevant for children. You might even say, okay, for my 3-year-old, and it's might provide other examples and make it even simpler. So in a sense, we've also added a sort of target audience here by adding a bit of context. Nice. All right, so providing background information. And yeah, what is relevant background information? That's up to you, for you to decide. And might be a lot, might be a little bit. Again, iterating, trying it out. Yeah, so what I already mentioned, we kind of added a target audience in the previous one already. But you could also specifically say in your prompt, make your output appeal to, or your target audience is, or you're creating X for Y. Don't know if this is easy to see, but if I, for example, say generate an enticing product description for the Google Pixel 7 Pro, the description should be targeted to seniors. You will see that it will say things like, oh, it's so easy to use this phone and the buttons are big and it's great to stay in contact with your grandchildren. Whereas if I say make it appealing to Gen Z, it might focus on a lot of other factors of this phone. But it's an easy way to add a target audience. And something that can also help, especially if your prompts get pretty large and you have some extra information that you want to add, is to really indicate, okay, what is instructions and what is context? And what I mean by that is the instructions might be things like generate an email about my salary increase. This is information about my boss. And I want you to base this email on the tone of this other email. And then the other email is the context, the extra text information. And once your prompts may get really long or you have a lot of text that you want to add to it, it could be nice to use some special characters to indicate, hey, this is the extra context so that the model doesn't get confused. And it doesn't really matter what special characters you use. Could be quotation marks, could be hashtags, something like this. Summarize the text below as a bullet point list of the most important points. And then the text, boop, you can put in here. And for short prompts like this, it's not really necessary. ChatGPT will be fine recognizing what is instructions and what is context. But like I said, once you get really long context, really long instructions, it might help. All right. So those were the first couple of tips from setting the stage. These were the 4 tips that we saw so far. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And while you're maybe thinking of questions or trying things out, we're going to move to the next section, which is designing the outputs. So we're going to see how to specify the output format, how to define the style, and also how to use a persona. So by default, if you ask ChatGPT things and you don't have anything in your memory, or you haven't given other instructions, if you, for example, ask summarize the benefits of GenAI, you get this numbered list with bullet points. That's kind of the default settings, unless maybe in the past you've asked to always use paragraphs, then it might do something else. But yeah, you don't have to stick with this default. You could also ask for paragraphs, a table, frequently asked questions formats, a checklist, HTML, Markdown, lots of other formats. So depending on what you need, we could also say, hey, I want to summarize the 5 most important GenAI benefits, and I want you to create HTML code that makes a table. So if we have this prompt that I'll put in the chat right now, summarize the 5 most important benefits of GenAI, could you try and add a description to this so that the format becomes a table like you see on the right here? Try that out and see what could you add to make the output look like this here on the right. If you have an idea, put it in chat. So this is the kind of normal results that we get. All right, cool. Format your output as a table. See what this does. There we go. Boom. Even asked me, would you like this table in a downloadable format like PDF or Excel? Maybe I do. Thanks, ChatGPT. So it's as easy as adding formatted in this kind of output. Yeah, Fearless says, so interesting that I get completely different answers. Yeah, it is, right? It's not giving us the same things. Yeah. Hey, Ace. So we can specify what we want the output format to look like. That can save us a lot of time copy-pasting things. And Luke says, I've never been able to get that downloadable thing to work. Does it actually create a downloadable file for you? Yeah, it depends a bit, because yes, I'd like an Excel file. I recently did this kind of training, and then I said, yeah, but it can't generate PowerPoints for you. And then I demoed it, and then it said, here you go, and then it did work. So let's see. Download file. Because for some people, I know that it just creates a button and then you can't click it, but yeah, maybe it does work. So maybe it depends on your version. I'm not sure. Hey, flyers and visuals can sometimes be blurry. Fearless says, yeah, that can be difficult. Although with the new model that's being used for visualizations in ChatGPT, you can now also, for example, add text to it, which was before really difficult, but that's a bit beyond the scope of this webinar. Hey, another thing that we can use to influence the format is the style of the output. So I think always a funny one is draft an email to my boss asking for a raise in the style of Shakespeare. Maybe I'll try that one. Do I have that one? I don't have it. Draft an email to my boss in the style of Shakespeare. Dude, I should have known how it spells Shakespeare. Oh, subject, a humble missive concerning matters of work. Most honored sir/madam. I pray this letter finds thee in health and high spirits. I should send this to my boss. Would like that. Yeah, so this, of course, is a really silly example and not really. Do it as Donald Trump. Okay, let's try it. Do it as Donald Trump. Okay. Absolutely tremendous update. We're doing great things. Oh my God. Yeah. You could play this with this for hours. It's hilarious. Your name, working hard and winning bigly. Yes. Maybe I should like do this more often to give myself a confidence boost. Yeah, so this is of course a bit of a silly example. I don't recommend sending your emails in the style of Donald Trump. But what you could do is, for example, ask for an informal style or a formal style, a journalistic, persuasive, for a blog, for maybe a certain company. Like if you're in the Netherlands, Coolblue has a very recognizable style of communication, and you could use those same styles as well. If you want to use maybe your own style, you could do kind of some like meta prompting. You could maybe give a couple of example emails and say, hey, based on these emails, could you generate a style description for me? And then you could use that again when you generate your emails later. Tata says, making AI great, one prompt at a time. Yeah, sure is. Yeah, so defining the style can have a really big influence as well. So let's try that out too. And as I already said, I love cats, so I have two prompts about cats. I would like you to try out these. So don't try them at the same time. But first, create a LinkedIn post about the cuteness of cats. See what the results are there. Then create an academic article about the cuteness of cats. A LinkedIn post. Oh, sometimes the best productivity hack is a catnip. Literally. Oh my God. Ah, now you see that for me, it also says, hey, you've hit the free plan limit. So now I will use the older model. Yeah, this is one of those really cringy LinkedIn posts. I can see it already. But what if I create an academic article? Boom. The cuteness of cats, an exploration of aesthetic appeal and physiological impact. Look at that. Just keeps going. Ah, stop. Even used a German reference. Fascinating. I wonder if these references really exist. We don't have time to investigate that now, but that could be a risk. Yeah. So these examples are of course funny, but like I said, you can play with this style if maybe you generated an email and it's too formal or it's not formal enough. That can you. Hey, and Sing asks, why would ChatGPT make up references? Yeah, that's a really good question. Why would ChatGPT make up references? Well, because ChatGPT is not a sort of search engine. It's a language model, which means that it's really good at coming up with what the next word is logically going to be in a sentence. And if it's grammatically correct, that's good enough for ChatGPT if I make it really, really easy. So because of that fact, sometimes I also say ChatGPT is just a really good sort of autocomplete. It doesn't really care if something is true or not. It doesn't even care. It doesn't know that. It just has seen lots of examples of language, and it's basing its responses on that, not whether something is true or not. Although there are some checks and balances built into ChatGPT, but doesn't mean that everything that you get back is true. So unfortunately, we don't have time to go into this too much, but we do have a course that's all about Gen AI and we cover this topic in more depth if you're interested. Yeah, so final tip for this section, something that can help give a little bit of context as well, and determine what the output looks like, is using a persona. So that can help to zoom in further into the domain that you're interested in. So for example, I could say, hey, I want you to act as an experienced machine learning engineer specializing in LLMs, and explain to me, your non-technical colleague, how ChatGPT is trained. So it's a sort of way to also make yourself aware of what the relevant context is. You're kind of role-playing a little bit, role prompting. You're saying, hey, I want you to act as the top marketeer, or an expert on, or a teacher that's super good at explaining difficult topics. So then you're focusing already a little bit more on the relevant domain. Okay, let's do a quick trying out with this as well. So you can try out this prompt that says, write a quick outreach email to person about partnering up, versus you are a salesperson. Write a quick outreach email to person about partnering up. And maybe you'll notice a difference, maybe not. I as well. Find you well. I've been following your work. I'm impressed. There's a great opportunity. Okay. Now I'm suddenly a salesperson. Okay. Now it also says, here's a more sales-driven outreach email. If you're doing well, I'm reaching out because there's this great opportunity. Love to discuss. So in this case, I don't think the difference will be that great, but if we have a little bit more context to it, because now we've just said send an outreach email, we have a bit more context, giving that persona can really make a difference. Hey, awesome, we're flying through it. The tips that we've seen here. Specifying the output format. So we saw that we could create a table, defining the style, like Shakespeare or Donald Trump, or more formal, or like a blog, and using a persona to do what we call role prompting. Hey, final tips. Taking the model by the hand, because teamwork makes the dream work. We'll see how we can provide examples to help the model get to useful output, give some restrictions, working step by step, asking for variation, finally having the model admit it when it doesn't know. Doesn't work always, but sometimes it does. So instead of thinking really long and hard about a description of something, we could also just give an example and say, hey, I want you to write an email like this one that I gave you here. So it could be that we give some sample text and we want ChatGPT to match the style or the tone. Or give a data format and say, hey, I have this table or this JSON or this whatever file. I want you to structure this in the same way. It could save you a lot of time. So, for example, please rewrite my marketing email so it has the same tone as the example email. I can give the example email and then say, my email is this. And then hopefully ChatGPT will rewrite it in the same tone. And Veerle also asks, does ChatGPT answer differently to everyone because it takes our personal writing style into account? Perhaps. If you've added some kind of background information in your profile, for me, it's learned that I want to be encouraged all the time. So it's always saying, oh, that's a great question, Lisa. And I'm like, yes, thank you, thank you. So that could be an influence, but still, if I give the same prompt twice, I get different results. Oh, please talk about ChatGPT custom instructions. I'll show you at the end of the session. Yeah, because there are some cool things that you can do in there as well. Okay, so providing examples that can save a lot of time instead of writing out exactly what you want, just give an example. But also what can be really helpful is giving restrictions, because we already saw if we just ask a question, it just goes on and on and on and on, writes entire essays. So if I say, create a summary of how the field of image recognition came to exist, I think I have that prompt in there as well. Try that out. Hey, well, entire history lesson. Luke says, I have a prompt to get really short and cold answers from GPT. And I mean cold. You want to share it, Luke? But yeah, without it, we get this, oh my God, really long story. But we don't have to. We could give some restrictions. We could maybe say, the prompt is too long for the chat. All right. But we could say, restrict your answers to 80 words or 3 bullet points or 2 paragraphs. I'll put these in the chat as well. Try them out, see if ChatGPT can do it. They're a bit jumbled up now. But you could try. Create a summary of how the field of image recognition came to exist in 80 words. Nice. Thanks, Luke. Okay, create a summary of 3 bullet points. Okay, can do that too. Create a summary in 2 paragraphs. Okay, this looks like 2 paragraphs, right? One thing that I do want to check though, is are these indeed 80 words? I'll do a little new Word file, copy paste this in. Oh, 78 lies. 78 words. So this is something to keep in mind. Tools like ChatGPT and other large language models, they're not really good at mathematics or counting. So things like 3 bullet points, 2 paragraphs, that's fine. But as soon as we get into kind of bigger numbers, it starts to struggle. And it feels really weird because this is a model, this is a computer doing things. Why can't it count? Why can't it do proper mathematics? It's gotten better, but still, counting and seeing if something is exactly 80 words, it won't be really good at, because it's a language model. It's not made for doing calculations. That's something to keep in the back of your minds. So usually I don't ask for a very specific number of words. I say 2 paragraphs or X paragraphs. And yeah, Mohammed also says if we train ChatGPT mathematics, there has been a lot of improvements being done on the mathematics side of ChatGPT. So before, like when it was first introduced, it was really, really bad. Now it's okay, but if you ask for really complex calculations, it still doesn't do very well. And even things like, I wonder if this still goes wrong. How many R's are there in the word strawberry? Strawberry contains 2 R's. No, that's wrong. So is that counting words issue related to the token and how it splits the words? Pedro asks. I'm not sure why it can't count exactly, but it's a good question. Where exactly it's going wrong, I'm not sure. And Husing asked, does ChatGPT code well? How could it code well? It's not good at math and counting. Yeah, great question. Well, it's seen a lot of coding examples, so it knows the principles. But that doesn't mean that it always gives good code. because sometimes if it's seen lots of bad examples on the internet, it will give you a bad solution that may give an error, or it may be very outdated. I've seen it recommend libraries to me that were deprecated. So it can do it because it's seen a lot of examples, but it's not necessarily good. Luke says, maybe ChatGPT is just a bit dyslexic. Oh, yeah, I'd like to think that. Yeah, and Juanette says it looks like it read the word strawberry phonetically. Yeah, I wonder if that's the case. Yeah, maybe we should try some other words with phonetic only 3 or 2 R's. Hey, but yeah, what we can do is we can give restrictions so it doesn't produce entire essays. And something that can also help with potential problems like we saw now with the strawberry is if we have it work step by step. So instead of saying, hey, tell me what time I need to leave the house, if I have a meeting at 9:30 and I have these and these and these and these things to do, if we add a little explain your output step by step, chances are that the results will be better. Not always, but let's try it for the strawberry. How many R's are there in the word strawberry? Explain your output step by step. Yay! Now it does do it well. Okay, so that can help. Explain the output step by step. And it also helps you as a human to check, does this make sense? You can kind of follow along with it. So yeah, you can also structure your work in a step-by-step basis. So instead of saying, hey, give a summary of this text, translate it to simple Dutch language, you could also say, okay, first summarize it, then make it simple, then translate it to Dutch, because then you kind of can follow step by step. There may, be less issues, or at least you can spot the issues while they are happening. Way to get more of your output is to not just ask for one bit of output, ask for variations. So this I do a lot as well. So for example, saying, hey, you are an expert in SEO optimization. Hey, doing a little bit of role prompting here. Generate 5 variations of the following blog post title. Nice. Then you already get 5 results. You can, of course, ask another one, another one, another one. But it also already gives you some things to work with. Maybe you can kind of mix and match, brainstorm further on top of it. So maybe let's try one of these yourselves. I'll put them in the chat again. Pick one of these and see what it does. Generate 10 titles for a talk about data storytelling, or generate 10 multiple choice questions about the history of AI, or generate 10 recipe ideas for a vegan children's birthday party. I'm curious about that one. Try it out yourself. Oh, so that gives you more options to work with from the get-go. Image Mississippi. Yeah. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Hey, and you can also ask again when asking for variations, because sometimes the model gets it wrong, like we saw with the strawberries, and it's not necessarily their fault. They just got unlucky with the words that were statistically most likely to come next. So you can just say, hey, try again. And for example, here I said, write a 15-line poem about image generation. The first letters of each line should spell out image generation. That's pretty hard. And it messed up. It didn't do it well. And then I can just say, hey, that's not correct. Try again. And it will say, oh, I'm so sorry, forgive me. Oh, it's being very dramatic about it. But after a couple of tries, it did get it correct. And Mohammed says, oh, why does ChatGPT give 10 suggestions the first time I ask? Yeah, sometimes it also does that, even without you asking, or maybe it's remembered that you like that. Maybe it updated that in its memory. It could be. Yeah. Okay, final one. Have the model admit when it doesn't know. So this is not something that always works, but like we already said, large language models, they can just make things up. They can hallucinate, is what we call it. So I once asked it, hey, tell me something about me, Lisanne van Beek. And then it started saying that I'm a Dutch author and I work in literature and poetry and I have a background in linguistics. It's all not true. I also didn't teach at the University of Amsterdam. I'm not a writer at all. So it just started to generate information that wasn't true, because large language models, you need to see them as really good storytellers, not necessarily as fact machines. So once I said, hey, tell me something about Lisanne van Beek. If you don't know who she is, don't make something up. And then it said, as of my last update, so I think I did this last year, I don't have any information on her. I'm a nobody. I think if I ask now, it actually does find something on the Xebia website or something. But this can help to prevent these hallucinations, but it's not foolproof. It can still hallucinate even if you tell it not to make up things. So something that you can keep in mind. Okay, right, we've gone through lots of tips. The final one, taking the model by the hand, we saw providing examples instead of writing things out, giving restrictions, for example, 2 paragraphs, having the model work step by step, for example, with the strawberry example, asking for variation, and having the model admit it when it doesn't know. Okay, I had a little bit of extra information, but looking at the time, I'd rather do a bit of Q&A. So these were all the tips that we saw. Like I said at the start, if you signed up for this this webinar, these slides will be sent to you so you can have a look at them on your own time, same as the recording. And I'm just going to skip the prompt templating because we've run out of time a bit, but you can look at that once you get the slides, because I want to reserve a bit of time for Q&A. Because yeah, maybe you still have some questions about these prompt engineering tips, about ChatGPT, about GenAI in general. Ask them in the chat. And while you're typing, I can already tell you a bit that yeah, we have a really nice course as well. If you Google intro to GenAI Xebia, I'll put this link in the chat as well. We have a really, really nice training all about the topics that we discussed now, hallucinations, what is the difference between normal AI and Gen AI? What else do we cover in there? Use case ideation of how you could use Gen AI in your work or your daily life. What kind of tools are out there? 'Cause now we've just looked at text, but there's also images, videos, music generation. Oh, and yeah, the ChatGPT custom instructions. Thank you for reminding me, Mohammed. So if you're using ChatGPT, what you can do is you can go to the top right, your little information there, and then you can customize ChatGPT. So you can, for example, say, hey, you should call me this name. Here's some information about what I do. What traits should ChatGPT have? So you can, for example, say formal or encouraging or poetic or Gen Z. And maybe other things that it should know. So I've added some information that I'm a data science educator. I like to work with these educational principles. There's also, let's see where that is. I think in the settings, personalization. Yeah. So if you go to, again, top right, settings, and then personalization, there is the memory. So you can see what ChatGPT has got in memory. So it has a lot of things in memory about me creating several different trainings. but you can tell it, hey, add this to memory. Sometimes it will automatically do that, and you can remove things from your memory as well. So yeah, that can help you to create or to get more personalized output. Let's see. Willem asks, would you say it is of value to run a model locally on a heavy machine stacked with GPU? Depends a bit. So if, for example, you have your own large language model or you have very sensitive information, you may not want to send everything to, in this case, OpenAI. Maybe you want to make a more secure solution for your company. There are ways to do that, and it doesn't always have to involve running something locally. It can also be having access to the model that, for example, ChatGPT uses without information going to OpenAI. So, for example, we did that at Xebia as well. Called it ChatGPT, no, SlackGPT. ChatGPT. So there is a blog post about, and I'll post in the chat as well, about a colleague of ours who integrated ChatGPT into our Slack so we can communicate with ChatGPT on Slack without any of our personal data going to third parties. Yeah. Luke says, I miss Slack. Yeah. Oh, Slack is so good. Yeah, any other questions? Things that are on your mind, things you've always wondered about? Well, if you have other things that come to mind afterwards, if you're eating your dinner, cycling home, you can always reach out. You can reach out to whoever is sending the follow-up email. They will send it to me. I would love to answer any questions that you have. And yeah, if you ever want to do a training with us, we offer lots of really cool trainings like the Intro to GenAI course that I shared, but also more technical ones about application of large language models. So we have a lot of options for you. All right, if there are questions, I thank you for your attendance. Really lovely to see you all here. Thank you for the questions in the chat, and I hope to see you in a training in the future.